Welcome to Mexico City. Hey guys, as you can see, I have made it to Mexico City, which was not the plan yet. Unfortunately, a lot of sad circumstances happened on Tuesday, which made me come to Mexico City a bit sooner. On Tuesday morning, I left Querétaro to take a bus to Tula. There I wanted to visit the archaeological zone and see the giants of Tula. But all the buses were cancelled and I easily found a BlaBlaCar that could take me there. Soon the driver told me that the buses were cancelled because there was a big flood going on in Tula that happened overnight. Anyway, the journey there took us about 2 hours and I really loved the landscape. I was very much enjoying the ride. And then we got to Tula and we couldn't even go down to the city center. They dropped me off right where we entered the city and then they put me in a taxi to take me to my hotel. There was no cell service in Tula because obviously everything had shut down. So I couldn't even look on Google Maps where I was going or where the hotel was. So it was very difficult to find it, but eventually with the help of the wife of the taxi driver, she did have cell service from another provider and we got to the hotel. And the hotel was right where the flooding started. Also, the hotel had been flooded. Obviously, they couldn't let me know this because their electricity was probably out. They didn't have cell service. So I then had to make a decision. Obviously, there was no point in me staying in Tula because I couldn't visit the archaeological zone and I couldn't even stay in the hotel I had booked. So then I decided to take a local bus to another city nearby from where other buses were going to different cities because obviously the bus terminal in the city center had flooded as well as the buses. So there was no way to get straight from Tula to another city in the region. I then got to the other city and by then I had been thinking, do I continue my journey on to Pachuca and visit the basalt prisms or do I just go to Mexico City? The weather had obviously been horrible and I just didn't really want to take the risk of Pachuca not being worth the visit. Also, the city that the bus had taken me to was a lot closer to Mexico City. So I just decided to continue my journey onto Mexico City quite a bit earlier than expected. So there I was with all my backpacks in the middle of nowhere at a random bus station waiting for a local bus to take me to Mexico City. That bus took about 3 hours to reach there, which is what it would have taken me to go from Querétaro straight to Mexico City with a comfortable bus. Whilst on this local bus, all of a sudden there seemed to be something going on with another bus. We heard some loud noises and then all of a sudden we came to a toll station and the driver from the other bus came onto our bus, hit the driver in the face, threw around some insults and then got out of the bus again. It then became some kind of street race between both buses because the other bus didn't want us to pass it by. I then finally arrived to Mexico City. It was pouring it down. It took me so long to get an Uber from the bus station and then finally I reached my hostel. I am at the Maciosare hostel, which is one of the best rated hostels in Mexico City. And eventually, after a long day, I went to lay on my bed and not much after, an alarm started sounding. But we had no idea what the alarm was. We couldn't really understand what they were saying. I just thought that it was a car parked underneath the window here with some just selling something. I didn't know. And then all of a sudden the whole room started shaking. The bed started shaking, the closet started shaking, and that's when we realized it was a heavy earthquake happening. All of us were very shocked and we didn't really know what to do. Also, we didn't know, is any aftershock coming? What is the epicenter of this earthquake? Where is it coming from? How long will it last? So it was very scary after a day that was already pretty scary. And it took some time for everything to sink in. A lot of my trips of the past 2 weeks had been cancelled because of the weather or like different circumstances. So I was feeling quite down, if I'm honest. All day on Tuesday I was very much on autopilot, just going from one solution to the next and not really thinking about what was happening, or I just never really let it sink in or let myself feel some way about it. And then after the earthquake, everything kind of settled in and I kind of realized everything that had been going on and everything that had been cancelled, and I let myself just feel what I felt for a second. And I decided to just make the next days and whatever was coming next, just make it count even more. Immediately I booked 2 free walking tours for the next day, and one was of the historic city center, and that one lasted for 3 hours. I still remembered quite a lot from when I was previously here, but it was still a great tour. It was an amazing guide. The company was called Cactus Tours, and the guide was Guillermo, and I highly recommend him. I had my first pan de muerto with an iced cappuccino. A pan de muerto is a typical pastry that they make for Dia de Muertos, and it is super delicious. I then took an Uber straight to the next walking tour, which took about 5 hours. It was by Adriana, and it was a tour of the Condesa and the Roma districts, including lots of the best food in Mexico City. We also visited a market and some kind of food market that had a lot of food from all over Latin America, so obviously we had to have ceviche. We had the best tacos with Cochinita Pibil, which is some kind of slow-cooked pork that is traditionally from Yucatan. We had the best tacos al pastor, also the best churros I have had in my life. We tried pulque, which is a very strange drink. It's actually a fermented drink, so it does have some kind of percentage of alcohol, and it feels very strange. It's like a thick drink. I can only describe it as like the passion fruit jelly, like drinking one big passion fruit jelly. That's kind of how it felt. I also had a michelado, which is a beer with lime juice and salt. Sometimes they also add tomato juice and other kind of sauces, but I like the normal michelado. And then one of the last stops was a local food market, and there we had the most amazing empanada with shrimps. Delicious. I went to the top of the Torre Latinoamericana, which was the first skyscraper of Latin America. From there you have a great view over the rest of the city. There was a bit smog though, but it was still worth it. For lunch I went to Pizza del Perro Negro, and this is a pizza place that has thick crust pizzas with a lot of different traditional Mexican toppings. They had pizzas with tacos, chorizo, chile relleno, chilaquiles, carnitas, ahogada, nachos, and so much more. It wasn't great, but it was good. Then in the evening, I went to a Mexican chain restaurant. It is called Casa de Toño, and there you can try a bit of everything because it is super cheap. It costs you like maybe €1 to try one enchilada, maybe one taco, one of everything, and you can kind of for very little money, you can try a lot of Mexican food. I went for the pozole, which is some kind of soup with maize and also 2 kinds of meat. And I did like it, but it's not like I would order it again. And in Peru, they have something called mondongo, and that is also some kind of soup with the corn, and it has, I think it's pig's stomach. I was so sick after having tried that, so I was a bit worried, but all was good. Afterwards, I had a arroz con leche, which is basically a rice pudding, just to calm my stomach down after a couple of days of eating very, very spicy. And it was good. It wasn't that great, but I would recommend going there to try as much Mexican food as you want to for a very cheap price and see what kind of food you like most. For the next day, I put a publication on one of the Facebook groups, it's called Backpacking Mexico, to see if I could get together a group of people to join me to go to Xochimilco. In the end, I managed to create a group of 8 people to go there, and it's basically a boat that you rent up to 14 people, and it is super cheap if you can split the price over all these people. I have to say it feels a bit like a tourist trap because there are other boats constantly trying to sell drinks, food, souvenirs, even music, like you have to pay for a song of the mariachi. I would recommend to accept the offer of having a boombox and making sure you have made your own playlist, take your own beers, have some good food with you, and you will be guaranteed a great 3 hours. We also went to the house of Frida Kahlo in the Coyoacán district. This beautiful blue house is now turned into a museum, and you see lots of her work, but also how she lived, a lot of her clothes, and it's actually very interesting. We tried to go early in the morning, but because my friend didn't have a ticket yet, we had to book one in the afternoon and then get back after Xochimilco. But it was definitely worth it. For breakfast, I had a delicious concha, which is a pastry in the form of a shell. All these pastries in this bakery were huge and they are so cheap. When I got back to the city, I went for dinner with my French and my English roomie, and we went to a fancy Mexican restaurant that is very famous here in Mexico City. It is called Café de Tacuba, and there we tried such amazing food. I had the enchiladas suizas, my French roomie had the tamales, and my English roomie had the enchiladas with vegetables and in mole poblano. Oh my gosh, it was so good. We also had a cocktail of mezcal and agua de Jamaica, which we weren't a fan of, but still we had such an amazing dinner. It was a bit more pricey than what we usually pay, but it was worth it. Then we went to have a look at the lights and the decorations for the national holiday that were on the big main square. And there were so many people there. I think there was some event happening because the whole square was also car-free. And then we made our way to a jazz bar and we saw an amazing concert. It was a very intimate location and we were front row right in front of the artists. We had a drink and then we made it back to the hostel very tired after such a long day and so many amazing activities. Obviously, I had been in Mexico City before and I had visited quite a lot of things already. Something I can highly recommend is go in the direction of the Bosque Chapultepec, which is a park where there is a big castle and you can visit the castle, and it is definitely worth a visit. You can go through all the rooms. You also have a great view over the city. Maybe you will pass by the Angel of the Independence on the Reforma Avenue. And the park is just also a very nice place to be with lots of squirrels, and yeah, really recommend. Close to the park you can find a lot of museums as well. And one of them is my favorite museum almost out of all of the museums. It is the National Anthropological Museum, and it explains a lot about the history of Mexico, about the indigenous people, and everything from the Aztecs to the Mayans, and how Mexico City was born. It is definitely a highlight of your trip in Mexico City. Don't miss it. Previously, you could visit the National Palace, which is basically the parliament in Mexico City, and there you could see the beautiful murals that Diego Rivera made, basically to educate the illiterate people about the history of Mexico. Unfortunately, with the new president, he is quite paranoid, so he is not letting any people into the National Palace at the moment. Let's hope that in the future it will be possible again. Very close to the city, you can visit the pyramids of Teotihuacan. This is a must-do when you are here. When we were there, we got to see Los Voladores de Papantla, which is a ritual where men climb up a pole and then they slowly descend down with cords. It is very impressive and very cool if you can see it. You can also rent a hot air balloon to fly over the pyramids at sunrise, which is said to be great value for money. Then the archaeological site itself is very big, so bring good shoes. I was able to climb up the Pyramid of the Sun. Unfortunately, now in COVID times, I heard it's not possible, but still you can visit the Pyramid of the Sun, the Pyramid of the Moon, and what I believe is the Camino de Muerte. and it is best if you do it with a guide. I did it on a school trip a few years back, and you just understand where you're walking a lot better. With the school trip, we also went to a pool party, we had a Mexican buffet, we had a birthday as well, so he got to hit a piñata, and there was also a lot of entertainment activities we could do, but also traditional dancers, all dressed in traditional clothing. Another activity you can do, or a day trip you can go on, that is near Mexico City, is the Nevado de Toluca. This is a volcano located in Toluca, and there are a couple of volcanic lakes, and also you can hike up the volcano, which is what we did, but we did not know what we had signed up for. We were so unprepared. And on top of that, it was very cloudy, so the top of the volcano was basically completely covered in clouds. We thought we could see the top when we started, then we got to that top, and then we saw another top, and then we got to that top, and then we saw another top, and it just kept going on like that. And finally we did reach it, but obviously there was no view at all. Anyway, it was still a good day. We did climb up a volcano and see the crater lake, so it'll depend a lot on the weather you have. It is now my last day in Mexico City, and I have a couple of things left on my food bucket list that I really want to try. So I think I'll be going for fish tacos, a taco with organs. Yeah, it's called tripa. And also a taco de canasta, which is some kind of steamed taco. I'm very curious about all of the tacos, and obviously I'm taking you guys along. So let's see what I think of them.
So instead of having one taco at each place I was supposed to go to, I had 2 tacos, both in the fish taco place and the canasta tacos, which were unbelievable. Like, what was I even thinking? As if I'm only going to have one of each of the best tacos in Mexico City. I couldn't try the ones with the organs yet because it was still in the making, so I will have to go back for those.
Tomorrow I am continuing my journey to Taxco and the caves, and also to Cuernavaca and the whole region, and also the Pueblo Mágico Tepoztlán. So that will be for the next video. So make sure you subscribe, you like, you hit the bell notification so that you don't miss out on the next videos of Mexico. Trust me, they will only get better from here. I have so many amazing things planned. After that, I'm going to Puebla and Cholula, and after that, I will finally be at the beach. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next one. Bye!